Hello, my friends. Could you, for me, for a moment, close your eyes and imagine an elephant? I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. Shouldn't have taken us long. Remember that image of an elephant. Now, we'll come back to that later. Rebecca and I started up our podcast again. I think we announced it a while ago. And we're finding that in every single one of those podcasts, we're talking about mindfulness and meditation as this tool that can enrich your life. I've also been getting a lot of comments on one of the videos I did a long time ago about getting earworms, songs that are stuck in your head, out of your mind. And I find that over and over again, I keep turning people towards mindfulness and meditation. I realize that I talk about this a lot on the channel, but today I wanted to give an in-depth guide to why meditation and mindfulness is important in our lives, vital even. And then I want to give a meditation. And this will be the introduction to the meditation where you can actually sit down with me and we're going to do one of the easiest meditations that there is so that you can come along with me on a journey to strengthening your mind. A long time ago, I did a video on meditation and I compared it to doing push-ups for your body. So if I want to get my body in better shape, I have to start working it out. I have to start exercising. I have to go for walks or go for runs or do some calisthenics or start gymnastics, whatever it's going to be to get my body in better shape. Now our minds, we often don't think about as getting our minds in shape. Our minds are just there, and in our non-meditative world, our non-meditative culture, we've never been taught that our mind can be in shape or it can be out of shape. Now, we live in this world that is constantly conditioning our minds. There's all kinds of things coming in. Music, these earworms, this repetitive dun 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 dun. That's modern music. And these movies that flash from one thing to another. YouTube videos that do the same thing. These are all conditioning our minds to not only be thinking of or have that content in our heads, but also conditioning our minds to a certain pace, to a certain way of being. So when I go out into nature and I sit in nature for a long time, I'm going to be left with a certain underlying feeling and sensation that is going to be very different than if I go and watch an Avengers movie. Today, as we look around us in the world, we see that a lot of people are suffering from minds that have been conditioned into fear. We see a lot of anxiety, worries about what's going to happen next in our world. Many people predicting that this or this will happen, never mind that their last 20 predictions didn't come true. All kinds of stirring up of these emotions that make us feel tense. You might be feeling it yourself in your life. This feeling of tension that's holding on all the time. This is called stress. And we've been told that it's normal and natural in the human condition. But it's probably only normal and natural in the modern human condition. Who knows what our ancestors experienced the world like? We can't go back to actually know. But we do know that when our forest monks go out into nature, their minds slow down and become less anxious, less fear-based. We also know, this is very interesting research, that when we look at people who spend time in nature, there are measurable physiological changes that happen inside of us. So our cortisol, sometimes dubbed the stress hormone, drops. Our blood pressure drops. Our heart rate drops. We go into a more relaxed state just being in nature. This also, interestingly, happens when we meditate. And is it odd that a lot of the physiological changes that we see when people meditate are the same ones that we see when people are out in nature? It almost suggests that in our ancestral environment out in nature, our minds might have been different, might have been more relaxed. Stress is simply having a physiological or mental or thought reaction, emotional reaction to something that is not immediately present in our environment. If a saber-toothed tiger bounds over the ledge right now, then I may experience some adrenaline and a stress reaction, cortisol release as I deal with that situation. It's very different than me being afraid to go outside because I'm imagining that that saber-toothed tiger is going to get me. Many of us have learned and been conditioned to be in a constant state of fear. It might be politics, it might be fearing wars, it might be fearing things at our job, and might be, if we go into the woods, we might be fearing bears or other creatures in the forest. All of these fears of things that are not immediately present. Stress is different than being prepared. I may go out into the woods and I carry my spear. This is our ancestral self. So that I'm ready if I do meet that saber-toothed tiger. That is different than being so hyped up and worked up that I'm constantly in a state of alert whenever I go outside because I'm worried about those saber-tooths. With so many of us in this state of stress, we might look around ourselves and say, where is there some solace? Where can I find some peace away from this? And evermore, perhaps it's always been like this since human civilization, maybe even beyond that. But the answer that we're often given is a new belief. We might look around online and see, you've got to wake up to seeing this truth. And this truth is always my truth. And we might look and say, well, that's curious that this person has their truth that they really, really think is real. And this person has their truth that they really, really think is real. We probably all know people like that, or we may have that in ourselves, where we are so sure that a belief is real. And somewhere inside of us, we do glance around and we say, it's curious that so many of us think that our truth is the real one. And what are the chances that my truth is the actual real one and everybody else is wrong? And of course, that aspect of our mind that works in belief will say, well, the chances are good because I am right and everybody else is wrong. And so we'll have people of certain religious persuasions, we'll have people of certain political beliefs, of different world beliefs, all these different beliefs, each person thinking that they have the truth. And that if you come and you take on my truth, you will find some sort of solace, some sort of peace, if only the peace of knowing that you are right. And with those offerings of all these beliefs that supposedly will wake us up, we find ourselves sometimes jumping from belief to belief, trying these out and finding that this doesn't really fix the problem. Now, there is one thing that I have come upon that is different from all of these. It's the one thing that if you delve deep enough into it, you find the opposite of belief. You find your own ignorance. And in finding your own ignorance, you find room for growth. you find room to blossom because we are no longer constrained into a belief. Stuck inside of a belief, there's nowhere else to go. Our growth can stop. But whatever our current belief is, there's room for growth if we can get ourselves out of that box. And often it doesn't even mean that you have to give up your cherished belief. It just means that if we stop thinking of ourselves as the all-knowing one, perhaps the one person that knows it all, or else we're in the in-group that knows it all, then room for growth opens up again. This one thing that I've found, of course, is mindfulness. And all that mindfulness is being aware of what is happening inside of our mind. When we adhere to a belief without really looking at it deeply, when we just take in the noise of our culture without any kind of filter, when we let ourselves lapse into mindlessness, then we are not aware of our mind's activity. We essentially become almost like robots, programmed by the world around us to react to stimuli in certain ways. And we come to believe that we are in charge. We come to believe that we're in control. That's part of the illusion of mindlessness. To think that we know what we're doing, that our actions are our own, when in fact, we are moving like automatons, like robots, and pointing to other robots and saying, well, you are a robot. You're not awake. You're a robot. You don't know what's going on. I know the secret. Again, this beautiful thing about mindfulness is that once you delve into it, you won't be pointing those fingers anymore. Because we'll be seeing instead that we harbor a lot of mindlessness inside of ourselves. Again, it's sort of like those push-ups. Until we get down and we try to do a push-up and we find that we can only squeeze out half of one or maybe 3, do we find that maybe I could work on those push-ups a little bit? It's the same thing with mindfulness. When we start in that meditation practice or that mindfulness practice, we're going to start to see, wow, I have been kind of mindless. This is humbling. This is eye-opening. And again, once we're freed of that belief that I know what I'm doing and I'm in charge, then we can start to grow. We can't grow as long as I refuse to do any push-ups and I just say, well, yeah, I'm plenty strong. I could probably pump out 20, maybe 30. Get down and try it. And when we do that with our mind, a lot of us are going to be pretty surprised. And you can try it for yourself right now. You can close your eyes, try to clear your mind for a moment, and just observe. Just see if you can observe quietly. See how long it takes for a thought to pop up. If you're like most of us, probably even within that space of time, some thoughts started to come up. The thoughts aren't bad, and the goal of meditation is not to have no thoughts. But it shows us how quickly, when we just try to sit there calmly, our mind wants to fill in the space. It wants to take something, and you may notice that you didn't really have a lot of control over what your mind brought up. It might have brought up, well, who knows what? A TV program, or why you're spending so much time watching this video where he's just going on, or maybe that elephant that we talked about. This is the beginning of seeing what we don't know, rather than pretending to know things. Let's harken back to that elephant for a moment. You pictured an elephant. and bring that picture back into your mind. Now, I pictured an elephant as well. And I had a pretty specific picture that came into my head. It's by this photographer whose name I cannot recall at the moment. I saw his work maybe 8 years ago. And so there's two big tusks, and I'm seeing just the front face of an elephant. Some of you may have pictured an elephant from the side. It may have been a cartoon elephant. It may have been, wow. All right, I won't sit here and guess. But here's the key. When I say, think of an elephant, and you and I both think of an elephant, we think that we are thinking the same thing. And yet we may be thinking, and probably are thinking, very different things. This happens with every single word we use. I can say a sentence, let's go over the hill. And to all of us, that's going to have a different meaning. Maybe subtly different, but different. I'm thinking of a specific hill here, in a specific place that I'd love to take you. And you're thinking of something else, or just wondering, oh, where's a hill in my life if you live in the middle of Iowa? So here we are, seeing that our mind tries to formulate these ideas, these truths, these things to hold on to, and doesn't realize that the world is largely unknown. It could be that this is all subjective. And you believe that there is this certain deity and this is your reality, and that is your reality, and you're right. And I believe that chipmunks are the supreme beings of the universe, and in my subjective reality, that's correct. Maybe that's what's going on. We don't really know. In fact, the deeper we look, the more we find that there really isn't much that we know. There's a lot that we can pretend we know. It's very easy to pretend that when I say elephant, you and I are thinking of the same thing. But we might not be at all. This manifests then as outer conflict. Because I observe a world, it's different than what that woman over there perceives. And if we aren't accepting of each other, our world views can clash. And also, because when I'm locked into belief, then I am no longer taking in new evidence, no longer seeing or growing, and I have internal conflict. Because all of us have a deeper wisdom, something inside of us that knows that we do not know. And that is why meditation and mindfulness are so vital. We escape from our own self-delusion. And then we are not so easily deluded by the world around us. Now, gaining mindfulness in this world is a little difficult. Actually, maybe a lot difficult. Most of us experience the same thing with trying to exercise our physical bodies. If you work a full day and then you get home and there's kids to feed and then there's some health problems that you're dealing with your relatives that you're trying to help them through, and you're trying to volunteer at the Humane Society, well, where is there time to get some physical exercise? It takes effort and time and energy. The same thing with mindfulness. If we are living what is a normal life for a lot of us, a very busy life, it can seem like there's not enough time for it. But the good news is that it is not too difficult to start on the path toward mindfulness. And not only is it not too difficult, but every little teeny bit of effort you put in pays off dividends. The other thing about mindfulness is that you don't necessarily even have to set aside time for it. You can do it while you're doing dishes. You can do it while you're helping your children with their homework. You can do it while you're volunteering at the Humane Society or helping that friend that's having a health issue. In fact, you can do it all the time. If you do want to begin a mindfulness meditation practice, I'm going to help you out today with probably the easiest meditation there is. And the reason this is easy is because it gives your mind something novel to hold on to. What we're going to be doing is, despite me saying it's easy, is actually one of the toughest families of meditation. And that is just holding a stillness in your mind. We learn to hold a stillness by learning to direct our attention. So in my regular life, if I do not have mindfulness, my attention is just dragged here and then there and then there and then there. I don't have much choice. There's a flashy billboard and somebody says something and that irritates me, so that directs me to go into a frustrated, angry place. And where my mind goes, and thus the activity of my mind, is not under my control at all. Not even really under my guidance. It's just pushed around throughout the day. And it's kind of exhausting. So a lot of us feel at the end of the day pretty mentally exhausted. Movies are a prime example. A movie specifically takes your attention, takes it for a ride. The director is thinking of exactly where your eyes should go on that screen and directing your gaze there. And so you're going to find yourself just mindlessly following the movie until it ends. This meditation, on the other hand, has us practice over and over again, taking our attention and putting it where we want it to go. For this meditation, I am going to play the Shakuhachi. Now, some of you have heard me play this before. It is a Japanese instrument, and there's actually a meditative tradition using it. And it's really kind of cool. There's a background to it. And that is that while I'm playing this flute for you, and we are sitting together in meditation, if I'm doing this mindfully, I am doing it in a state of mind where I'm going to be so stepping back into a state of observing that I'm no longer consciously thinking of what the next note will be. And I am just as surprised by what comes out of the flute as you are. So together, actually, you and I will be sitting down to this meditation, both of us listening to the flute. My fingers, my breath will be almost passively playing it in what is, oddly, almost ironically, paradoxically, a state of mindlessness, but it's a state of mindful mindlessness. This is called Mushin in Japanese martial arts, or Wu Wei in Chinese. It is stepping back so that we can observe our mind's activity, even when our body or our mind are acting on their own. And this is one of the essential keys to meditation, because unless we become ninja Jedi Zen masters, we're always going to have thoughts that come into our minds. I might have a worry. Oh my gosh, is the saber-tooth going to come today? I saw its tracks yesterday. One part of me, the mindless part, gets sucked into that story. Oh, wow. Is that... What did I just hear? The other part, the mindful part, can watch those things arise in ourselves. Oh, there's that worry I have about the saber-toothed tiger. There it is. All right? And in watching it, and acknowledging it, observing it, without getting sucked into the story, it will pass out of my mind. It doesn't stay there because I'm not using my thoughts to replicate it, to keep it going. So though I may use the word control, that's really not the right word. The word is observation. we want to, during this meditation, observe our thoughts. The task is fairly simple and straightforward. It is just to listen for the duration of the meditation to the Shakuhachi. When your mind, as it probably invariably will, goes off into some thought, no self-punishment is necessary. That is natural. That happens to all of us. There's the thought. Observe it. Say, there you are. Bring your mind gently back to the flute playing. Do this again and again, and we train our mind in one of the most basic skills of mindfulness, which is taking our attention and directing it where we want it to go. Also, being the observer, being able to watch our mind's activity, to be aware of it, but not sucked into it. The flute playing gives us this wonderful thing to come back to again and again and again. Your mind, in the space of this meditation, maybe 100 times it will go off to think of something else. That is not a failure. That's fine. Just redirect it and bring it back. Remember a couple of essential things. First of all, no shame again in thoughts coming up. It's natural, it happens. That's what we're working with right now. And so take that advantage of when a thought comes to actually be glad that it's come, because it gives you a chance to practice redirecting your mind back to the music. Number 2, remember that if you come and you jump to the meditation again tomorrow and listen to it, which I'd encourage you to do, tomorrow may be better in the sense of finding yourself more able to just pay attention to the flute music and more quickly able to bring your mind back to it when your mind goes off on a thought. However, it may feel worse in the sense of finding yourself even more entangled in thoughts. It doesn't really matter. Like doing push-ups, I might do 400 today for the whole day, and then I get down to do some tomorrow, and all day I can only get out about 30 because I'm so sore. It might have to do with what I ate for breakfast, how much power I have in my muscles. Like our physical energy, our physical strength, our mental strength, our mindfulness will fluctuate every day. Some days we'll be at a higher level, some days at a lower level. But continued practice, if you practice this for 10 days, 20 days, 30, 40 days, what you will find is that over time, your baseline gets higher and higher and higher. In other words, your fluctuations start to adjust to a new baseline of more mindfulness. Meditation was used by, we've got Jesus going out into the desert for 40 days, Hafez on his quest to know God. We've got the Buddha doing his meditation. Is that 40 days too? Under the Bodhi tree. And now science is backing this up, saying that when we do meditate, our brain actually changes. The gray matter grows in some areas of our brain and shrinks in others. Specifically in those areas that govern rational thought, emotional control and resilience, non-reactiveness. Those parts grow. Our amygdala shrinks. That's the part that is always keeping us in a state of fight or flight, of stress. So there it is, my friends. A long, thanks for staying with me all this time if you did, exposition on why meditation is so vital and how we're going to work on capturing more mindfulness using this specific type of meditation. And you can come back to this meditation every day if you want, and it won't be as surprising, the music, every time. By surprising, I don't mean I'm going to do anything strange and crazy or wild. It's just that each note, as you tune into it, the first time will be very novel. The second and third time, not quite so. So you will find that as I play, it is not music. So I'm not trying to create a song. I'm just letting the flute take me wherever it wants to take me. And you'll be coming along with me on this ride. So do this as often as you like. And I would love to hear in the comments, especially if you come back, what you experience after your first meditation, what you experience after your 20th meditation. I will warn you that in a shocking deviation from my normal way of filming things, I am going to play the flute in an indoor location. A couple of reasons. One is just finger dexterity, because it's cold enough that I will lose finger dexterity during the meditation. Number two is condensation. So the way this flute works, it builds up a lot of condensation and the air stops blowing through it. In the cold, I just won't be able to play very well. It will stop playing soon. So I'm going to play this inside. And I would invite you to find a place to sit down. Wherever you're watching is fine. See if you can get yourself comfortable. And really picture yourself there with me. You can sit right in front of me. We'll be facing each other. And I hope that you can feel the love that I'm sending you and the gratitude that I'm sending you through my presence there and through the playing. Because as much as I can through this medium, I'm going to be there with you so that you're not meditating alone. We're meditating together, you and I. Your eyes can be open or closed. Doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. Just breathe normally. You don't have to pay attention to your breath. The only thing you have to pay attention to is the shakuhachi playing. That's all. Come back to it again and again and again. And tell me what you experience down in the comments. All right, I love you all. And thanks for meditating with me.